is going to begin this afternoon presentation, and you know, Heather, for once she's not there for hippocampus, but for coral crevice. And is it okay for your presentations? For diaporama?
It's here.
It's here?
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to give a short presentation today to just talk a little bit about the coral reef crisis that I think everybody is familiar with, but to put it into an immediate context and also look at what we as a European aquarium community to do about it. We all know that climate change is happening, whatever predictor you use, and there's now over 3,000 peer-reviewed publications that show that climate change is happening. Sea temperatures are rising, sea levels are rising. It's really just a case of how quickly and how much, and not if. So it really isn't, if we're looking at what we do as a game of chess with all the different elements of day-to-day challenges and conservation issues, we actually need to think of climate change being the chessboard. It really underpins everything that we do. And I want to talk specifically about something that's very near and dear to all of us, and that's about coral reefs. So we all know about corals and the fact that temperature stress and sea temperature rises leads to corals losing the zooxanthellae and mass bleaching. So we go from stunning, pristine coral reefs to reefs immediately after a bleaching event, and some really scary things like this 600-year-old Porites colony, which is fully bleached. And ultimately, bleached reefs can end up as these devastated rubble and algae beds. So at present, and why this is so critical, is that the follow-up to the Kyoto Treaty is happening this year in December, and governments around the world are negotiating the level of carbon dioxide. And in the initial discussions in March this year, the threshold target, which is still under heated debate, is 450 parts per million. And I just want to give you an indication of what that target, if it's negotiated, means. And these discussions were brought to a head by a meeting co-organised by the Zoological Society of London with the Royal Society in July this year, and Charlie Veron came and presented the consequences of these CO2 emissions for the Great Barrier Reef. So basically, the 1980s, when carbon dioxide was at 345, that's when mass bleaching started. Today, we're at 387 parts per million, but the reefs are responding. There's a time lag. Mass bleaching is occurring mostly during El Nino, but it's starting to occur in non-El Nino years. And let's look ahead a little bit. If we go for this 450 ppm target, we'll be looking at mass bleaching most years, very extensive habitat destruction, and the start of extinctions. For reefs, there'll be problems with algal calcification and a stepwise decline and a huge loss of biodiversity. And if things carry on going at those modest predictions, we're looking at no coral reefs shallower than 10 meters 50 years from now, extensive extinctions, no shallow water habitats, no coralline algae. And obviously the consequences for the role that reefs play for ecosystem services being substantially changed. And 75 years from now, on predictions of 800 ppm, we're looking at corals having gone completely or being askeletal, mollusks in sharp decline, extensive biodiversity loss. and basically erosion will have washed away most reefs. So in summary, historically in the 80s we were looking at occasional bleaching. Now we're into inevitable long-term decline at current levels that are measured today. If Copenhagen negotiates 450, we're looking at rapid decline and reefs becoming much less biodiverse. And then it just gets worse from there. So at this meeting in July, there was a statement prepared which is now snowballed into putting as much pressure as we possibly could to, and by the great and the good of the reef world and others, such as David Attenborough, Sylvia Earle, and this has a long list of signatures, for the Copenhagen meeting in December this year to negotiate for 350 parts per million or less. So that is the only way that reefs will survive and have any prospect of survival. So what can European aquariums do? Well, firstly, we should make a statement for Copenhagen ourselves to push and make as much pressure as possible on the world leaders to have a target of 350 ppm. And as aquariums in many countries represented here, we need to use our political links to apply pressure where we can. Put the information on the websites. Through the EUAC website, I'll be circulating that signed statement and also the background document that gives you all the facts and figures you need. Add information where you have coral exhibits and coral-dependent species about what's happening and where the prospects are. And there are a huge amount of fantastic resources available, such as the work done through the Eurations project and through WAN and others. There's many aquariums have been involved in. We also need to look at what we're doing ourselves directly for corals, improving the sustainability of the trade, and also we obviously keep corals in our collections. So firstly, yesterday it was agreed at the General Assembly meeting that EUAC would put forward a statement for Copenhagen. The text is being drafted, but it will be signed and submitted for that meeting, and Paul's just informed me he will also do that for the IAF, which is fantastic. The broader the message, the better, and it's absolutely fine for anybody to use this text for their purposes. We need to look at the sustainability of the coral trade. In the current red list of corals, there are a number of species that are identified as declining because of the collection, the wild collection of these for the aquarium trade. We have a direct responsibility to do something about that. And because there's a really very real risk of species extinctions, we also need to, we may well become the backup, and we may well become the place where corals, the only place that certain species of coral can be found. So we really need to push forward the programs such as Coral Zoo, Seacore, and others in terms of improving what we're doing for corals in our collections. Things have got so bad that myself and colleagues are working with researchers on cryopreservation of corals as a real, things have got that desperate that that's what we're having to think about. So finally, let's not underestimate what we do. There's more than 70 million people that visit European aquariums every year. We have a fantastic global network, and we're very good at engaging with the public. So let's see what we can do to try and make a difference at this point for coral reefs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida, for this presentation, for this dramatic question. Does somebody have a question? Sorry for the microphone.
The microphone. So,
yes.
Just to remark, there's also the possibility to have an autograph signing.
Yep.
And we do it in Rotterdam. We have a sign, educational sign. We just put a paper below it. And people take their own pens because the pens are...
Thank you. So there's a website where you can sign for this, what Heather just said, for this 350 ppm. and we did an educational sign in our aquarium to involve the people, and people can make their own autograph to support that we should go for this goal of 350 ppm. Maybe Heather can...
Any ideas that people have, either send them to me or discuss them, and I will distribute them to the membership, because I think people are already doing some very good and clever things. All of these ideas can go onto the EUAC website. I'm sure that Paul would be happy to put that information up for us. So, but we have a very short, this is something that's going to happen in December. It's less than 2 months away. We need to act now.
Second.
Yes, Pierre, thank you. And Heather, maybe I think we have all to join what Michael said about actions we can do in the aquariums. I propose that we forward your statement to every member of our union. They can reproduce that document and then open a kind of a signatures list, which then all the lists can be gathered by someone and send us one package to Congress. I don't know whether Philippe Valette is attending, but in general he does. Yeah. So we could use him as an ambassador. And I will propose to do the same for IAF, open a website where everybody can sign. And I think this can only cover the whole action plan we have. I think every aquarium should play the same role. It's a common action and it's a common goal. This is also stressed in what was said in the IAF. So why not act all together by providing them the means and a statement?
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
More question? No more question? Thank you, Heather.